Welcome to Let's Talk Wellness, where we will be sharing insights into the world of mental health and wellness as we explore traditional medicine and holistic healing options. It's time to have new conversations about mental health. Join Mara James, the founder and CEO of the Hugs for Life Healing Center, as she guides us along this journey. And now, let's talk wellness.
Welcome to Let's Talk Wellness. I'm your host, Mara James, and I want to say thank you for joining us for today's conversation. During Let's Talk Wellness, we focus on healing, understanding, growth, and spirituality. This is part of the Hugs for Life Learning Center, a subsidiary of the Extraordinary Lives Foundation, a nonprofit organization where we are devoted to supporting mental health awareness and providing resources for children and their families. As the founder of these organizations, I have the great joy of collaborating with a team of amazing people to help bring healing to children and their families around the world. You can find out all of our information at elfempowers.org, and you can find the link in the show information. Now, let's talk wellness with today's guest, Sepi Tabai. Sepi is a trauma-informed life coach, meditation guide, Reiki master, and integrated hypnosis practitioner. Hi, Sepi.
Hello. Nice to see you, Mara. And wonderful to be here with you, sharing this space together.
It's such an honor. It's such an honor to be with you, and especially we've had some profound healing sessions together. Now, I wasn't sure what we were going to go in with, and just beautiful things came out of that, and we could share about that later. So you have all these beautiful titles behind your name, and I'd love to know, why did you get into each of them, and how they have helped you and how they help your clients?
Well, that's a really good question. I probably should write a book about how I got into all of that, but just to be short and brief for this session is my curiosity about myself got me where I am now, basically with all of these modalities that I learned to work with. And, I moved from my country of origin, from Iran. When I was 23 years old, I went through marriage and divorce and raising children. And I have always been curious about life and how I do life, but I never, I was detached from a part of it in general. I was not knowing where I'm making my decisions from, why my marriage ended in divorce, or the things that happened to me. Is I was very curious to find out about what is the force behind all of these. And the logical mind sometimes thinks, oh, I should have done this, and why I didn't do that. So I found myself in a meditation center and sitting on the cushion days after days, months after months, trying to learn about my own mind and how my mind works. And coming to the present moment, looking from the present moment to the decisions, to the choices that I have made, I learned so much about myself. I learned that a lot of decisions that I have made, it's based on past issues, based on fear, based on anxiety, based on, a lot of different things that is not truly me. And so I was like, oh, so what's underneath all of this? Who is me? So dropping all of those patterns, that brought up the decisions that I have made. So one of the biggest thing was meditation. And that's why I stayed with that for years. And I got introduced to meditation when I was 19, and I just have stayed curious with it for so many years and started delving more deeper into Buddhism, Buddhist psychology, and looking at myself from that aspect. There's so much when we allow ourselves to just sit and be with our own breath, be with our own bodies and just be here in this present moment, you notice a lot of our conversation is on our mind. It's not here really. It's not happening. Like when I am, having this conversation with you, is there another voice in the background talking? It's like, are you talking too fast? Are you talking too slow? You better slow down. Catch your breath. Like there is all these conversation that goes on that is not here, but it is made up from all the previous moments of that made me arrive here. Like I'm like, oh, my throat is a little dry. I'm noticing that. But when you notice that, you're all aware of that. It's when you are in this present moment. But the monkey mind likes to go on, create stories after stories. And when you suddenly find yourself, you're always on the, what if I said this? Or maybe I should have said that. We go back and forth between these dualities that we create for ourselves. But then when you come to the present moment, it's like, oh, I'm just having this beautiful conversation with beautiful Mara, and I am here and we're enjoying this conversation together. So that was one part of it. But I also felt like there is something stuck in the past that I need to look at it. And I got introduced to the work that in US is called identity development. And in Europe, it's called IoPT, Identity Oriented Psychotrauma Therapy. It's a long word, but basically what it is getting in touch with those parts of us that had experienced trauma at some point in the past and just remained stuck in the past. And now you have an opportunity, an open window to sit with those parts of you and just feel them and just say, hello, I'm here, I see you. And the traumatized parts, I don't know how much you want me to get into that, but then just expanding a little bit about trauma, because sometimes people are like, okay, we don't want to talk about trauma. It's like, we don't want to rehash those. And it's like, no, it's not something really big or bad. Sometimes it could be, we fell, and scratched our knees and our parents were like raising their voice, oh, we told you need to pay attention. Why didn't you look in front of you? Like, oh, you're just frozen. It's like, all you needed was somebody to say, oh, honey, I see you must be hurt. And we didn't receive that. So anytime we're like stepping into moments that could recreate that, we feel like, oh, am I doing something bad? Is this wrong? So it's like simple, small thing that our body, with our psyche kind of creates the moment that it's like, gets frozen. And I'm going to create a shell. It's like, I don't want to feel this pain because it was so painful. Not only I scratched my knee, I also felt punished by my parents that I did something bad. So I'm a bad person. So I'm like, I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to try to really look and really pay attention. So I'm not going to fall again, and I'm not going to recreate that, because that moment is so beyond painful for like a 5-year-old, So when we do this type of work, let's call it the ID work, simple, and we have a moment to go and make a connection with the 5-year-old, because what happens in the moment of trauma, all that what that 5-year-old needed was to be seen, to felt loved and protected. Nothing else. Like the trauma in its own is just like, oh, I scratched the knee, right? But because she didn't feel that moment of connection and feeling protected and loved, she had to develop like this survival strategy. So now a part is frozen in time. Now a part is like going in survival mode. And the real part is like somewhere in the background doing all the things that we do. So when we do the ID work, we go and get in touch with that traumatized part. And in the present moment, this is again part of like a meditation, in the present moment, we get in touch with that 5-year-old parts of us. And we see our 5-year-old. We feel the connection with that 5-year-old. So that 5-year-old feels protected, loved, and seen. Now that survival strategy can relax a little bit. we don't have to always go in the survival mode trying to survive, because that scenario happened and it's just done. It's just not repeating. But anything that is similar to that can trigger that part of us. Does that?
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I love how you say when you're traumatized from a trauma, the trauma doesn't have to be like physical or sexual abuse. It could just be something as easy as falling and scraping your knee and not getting the love and acceptance and that you deserve, and kind of like reparenting your inner child. Does that sound right?
It is some sort of, it could be reparenting, it could be connecting with yourself. It's just, a lot of times that's like the stories in our head. We're like always interested in outside. Let me do this. Let me make sure taking care of this person and that person. Let me go see this and that. We don't take a lot of time to go inward, because like the design of our life is just, we're all so busy taking care of other things in our life, taking moments to just pause and be with ourselves and connect with ourselves, and taking care of the young parts of us that weren't cared for the way they needed to be cared. We could have been like cared for, like there are great parents out there take care of their kids, but it's like in that moment that we needed that care and love, it wasn't there the way we needed it. So now we have a time to go, oh, I see you, and I'm here, and just you can, relax in this moment. I give you, and I talk a lot, but I give you an example about like when I was thinking about this podcast, because I have done this work, for some time now. I recognize these parts of me that comes into play. So I was like looking at what this podcast may be, and I like suddenly I had this image of this young part of me. Maybe it was in early teen years, and she was in high school, or I think it was in middle school. This image that came, that I was like, I had to go to the podium and I had to give this talk in front of the whole school. And I just don't know how they chose me. And I remember like I froze in the middle of it. So, and I had that vision. And then I had suddenly the other vision of this survival part of me, this taking notes, and I'm going to take care of you. And I'm like, okay, these two are in play. Who's going to play for the podcast? I don't want this 11-year-old to come forward. I don't want this 20-some-year-old to come forward. I want the 53-year-old to be here and just do the podcast. So there's that gap in between these two that I had to connect with. I was like, okay, I see you. You're scared. Okay, I see you. You want to take care of me. But let's just be here. Let's just see how it goes, and we'll work things out. We have arrived here, and there's a reason we're here. Let's work with this together. So almost these parts of us need acknowledgement. I'm like, I see you guys. You're in the background. You're trying to play it safe, but it is safe. We don't have to play it safe. It's safe.
I think that's big, knowing that someone, to really feel safe and protected is profound. So is it enough for someone? Well, first of all, can they always go back to see where a past traumatic experience is? Or is that something that you can guide them to do to really help see what's coming up and what they get to heal?
So it's what shows up, in any session that I, do with the client. Usually the client that comes in, there's something that they're working with in today. Like they have a relationship issue, or they have some sort of anxiety. When we start working with that, 99% of the time, we notice that it's not happened yesterday. This dynamic of a relationship that they're working on, or this internal anxiety they're dealing with when they show up at work, it didn't happen yesterday. It didn't happen last week. It comes from somewhere in the past. So that gives us a moment, an opportunity to go and look at it and say, oh, let's see what's up here. What's happening here. When was the first time you noticed this? And then suddenly like things start unraveling, and it's like, oh, I see the young part is acting up, and then we work with that and see what is it that is here to communicate. It's what is it that part of you wants you to hear or see, or what are they scared of. It's just, let's work with that.
That is amazing. And so, well, let me start when you were saying when you meditated, did you literally just sit there with unguided meditation day in and day out?
So that's a good question. I have done varieties of meditation. One of the meditation I have done, and I've worked with it for years, is the shamatha vipassana meditation, which is the practice. I know it's a Buddhist word. It's like, okay.
The what?
Yeah. So let's just work. It's sitting with your breath, sitting and witnessing the feeling of your body breathing. So the thought always comes up. You notice them, but you don't have to really fully engage with them. Notice them. Sometimes we observe the thought. Let's see where that thought goes. But what is here that is always available to us? Breath. To the moment that we die, something that is always here with us is our body breathing. We have that. So something we can always anchor to is like, if you feel anxious suddenly, if there's something suddenly, something coming up that you don't feel like you have a solution right away for it, how can you connect with yourself? And it's just, I'm breathing. Yeah, I'm alive. There's aliveness in us. There's this breathing with us. So sitting with the breath was a big part of my meditation. And it's still to this day, I have sometimes like a one breath meditation. It's like, okay, I'm like suddenly feeling anxious, and I'm like, where's my breath? Feel it in my body. Where is it? What does it feel? How does it feel? Does it, is there a specific part of my body that is calling for my attention with that breath? I go there and I just check in with that part of me. It could be one or two breaths. We don't have to always look at meditation. Oh, we have to sit for hours. It's good to have a practice. It's good to learn how to even be with that one breath, So when the time comes that you are feeling a little anxious and off balance, you can bring yourself back to that present moment and just say, I'm here. I'm breathing,
Yeah. Thinking about the old me before my healing and spiritual awakening, you could never get me to sit down. I was just always going out. My brother said, do yoga. I'm like, I don't have time for that. Of course, the person that doesn't have time for yoga is the person that probably needs it the most. But, and obviously, as I've done my healing and recalled some past pretty traumatic experiences, I, realized I had PTSD, and it was important to heal that, to be able to sit with myself. I couldn't just do that. Have you experienced that, or have any clients in addition to me that have?
A lot of people say I can't sit. There's no way I can sit. There are just that's why I always bring it back to one breath. And can you just be present with one breath? Let's just practice with one breath. You just take a deep inhale. Where do you feel it in your body? Pause for a moment. And just pay attention to that part of your body that you just felt it. Is it your heart? Is it your chest? Is it your throat? Is it your stomach? Is it your forehead? And just feel it. And just be with that for a moment. And does it have a texture? Is it heavy? Is it light? Does it have a color? You just become present with the moment. As I'm telling you this, I don't know if you follow this, but it's just suddenly you just become present with that. And you're not thinking about, oh, my trauma now, because you're just suddenly following the breath to see where it is. And then to expand from that, it's just, maybe there is a little expansion in that. Maybe there is a little, what can we do? Can we expand that a little bit? Can we go to the second breath? And if you're like, no, I think this is good. Okay, we'll work with it another time. It's just relaxing into, it's no big deal. Like, it's not, if we make a big deal out of, this is again, the stories around stories, we give it another story, just doesn't necessarily need to be here. It's just here to somehow protect us. It's like, okay, what are you protecting me from? I'm here, I'm sitting. There's no danger in this, sitting on this chair or being in front of this camera. There's no immediate danger here, right? But there is an anxiety in the background running the show. So.
Yeah. And what I love about that, it's not like, okay, just sit down for 10 minutes and da-da. It's like, no, we're just going to start with one breath. And when you're ready, and if you're ready, go to 2, and then so on and so on.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. Sepi, we're going to take a really brief break and we'll be right back. So friends out there, hold on 1 minute. We'll see you in a few.
In these shifting and changing times, more and more lives are being impacted by mental health. The Extraordinary Lives Foundation, also known as ELF, is transforming the way people view and navigate mental health challenges. Their mission is to improve children's mental health and wellness and support families by providing educational tools, resources, and awareness events. ELF encourages families to recognize symptoms, overcome the stigma, and reach out for help. Through prevention, early intervention, and holistic treatment, we believe many of the big problems facing today's youth can be transformed within a generation. Extraordinary Lives Foundation is excited to offer the Hugs for Life Healing Center, growing a worldwide network of approved holistic healers and bridging the gap between traditional and complementary healing options. Visit the Extraordinary Lives Foundation website at www.elfempowers.org to find out more about their resources and events. Together, we can change the conversation around mental health. We hope that you're enjoying today's Let's Talk Wellness podcast. And if you have a topic that you would like us to explore, we would love to hear from you. Simply email us at info@elfempowers.org. That's info@elfempowers.org. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Wellness. And today our guest is Sepi Tabai. Hi again, Sepi.
Hello.
So one thing that I love to ask healers, are there any healing sessions that you've encountered with another healer that have really been profound to you, that really have been transformational?
Well, I've had a lot of those throughout the years. So it's hard to say it's like one, because literally every session, the way it evolves, like sometimes the session ends and the client was asked like, how did you know about that? I'm like, I don't know. It showed up. You're the one who was presenting it, bringing it. But one of the things that, one of the moments that was like kind of life-changing for myself, I noticed that for many, many years, I recognized this at one point in my life, that I go through my life, it's just day to day, I'm living, I'm going through my life, but I don't really fully feel myself. I'm here, I'm doing things, I'm going through life, but I'm not fully feel myself. So I did a personal session on that one, like why am I not fully feeling myself? It's like, if you are present, if I've done all these meditation work, it's like, why am I not being present all the time? Why am I not feeling myself? Like I just suddenly noticed, like one day, it's like, where did my day go? Like, where was I? Like, do we have like those moments? So the session that I did around that, it was like something that showed up, and it's kind of personal, and I share, and my mom, hopefully she forgives me for sharing this. But what showed up in the session, which was out of the blue, and I was like, something that I have not thought about it for years and years and years, and it showed up, was that I just had a flashback of a memory that I was 3 years old and I was locked in a basement. And and the memory just started coming up. I was like, oh, it didn't happen only one time, and it just happened a few times. And I started investigating that after this session, actually. Like, it just, I connected with that young part, and I was like, okay, like, I remember this. This is not, I'm not making this up.
Right.
And before going to my mom, I went to my oldest sister and I said, I have this memory showing up. Do you remember anything? She goes, oh, yeah, as a matter of fact, I do remember. I remember coming home one day from school and finding you in the basement, and I just grabbed you and I took you inside and I told mom, it's like, what did she do this time? And I was like, oh my gosh. So it's like, whatever I did, I don't recall what I did, but what does a 3-year-old does? You know, it's like, literally, you just want to play, right? It's just, what do you do? Whatever I did and whatever was going on with my mom, who knows, she was sick, could have been tired, had a house to run, whatever she did, she just, and that moment, what she thought is like, okay, I need to make lunch or whatever. She's not letting me. I'm just going to lock her in the basement till I get my stuff done. For her, it was just a moment. For me, I stayed frozen.
Yeah.
You know, that part of me felt really frozen in time. Like, I felt like I must have been such a bad girl. I did something horrible. And what is a 3-year-old can do that is so horrible, that's so awful, that feel frozen for all these years? And I'm always trying to make sure I'm not, you know, bothering anybody, make sure I'm not, you know, I'm not doing something that is triggering something in somebody else. So I'm always like in this tight space. So I had to sit with that little girl. You know, I had to sit, and it was just it took a little bit of time for her and me to connect, and for her to also trust, to put her guards down and feel like, because we create this shell around ourselves. It's just, when trauma happens, it's so painful that I don't want to be in that basement ever again, you know, or maybe it was cockroaches or whatever it was. I don't want to feel that experience ever again. So I'll do anything I can not to feel that again. So that's where the survival strategies come in. And if I feel numb, that's a survival strategy. If I was feeling numb going through my day and doing things, but not fully feeling myself, that was my survival part that was acting up. So, and sometimes I ask my clients, it's like, who do you want to be driving your car right now? That 3-year-old? So that's what we're doing. We're driving our cars every day, you know, running the show, running our lives every day with these all parts of us. But if we, you know, they get in touch, there are that parts that are like running the show. We just have to kind of, when we have the moment to get in touch with them, we can have them relax a little bit and just say, okay, I can trust, you're 53 years old, you're not 3. And then we can actually drive the car without, you know, feeling this tightness in us.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you're saying when you're with her, you don't need to relive through the experience?
No, the experience, like I talked about it, is like, when I see, you know, connect with her right now, she's a lot more relaxed. She's actually, you know, can be playful in the background, you know, and kind of have a little giggle too. You know, she's opened up her grip from being, you know, in that tight shell, you know, and relaxing a little bit.
So you actually,
Yeah.
and I know last time we were speaking, you said when you're working with healing traumas, the person was stuck like in a fight or flight or frozen mode.
So what happens when trauma happens? We go in fight, flight, and freeze mode. These are survival strategies, you know, and these are, you know, it's just, I get frozen, you know, in time. I just disassociate, I fly, you know, and fight, flight, or we're just gonna fight, you know, it's just angry, you know, there's an anger. And then around, you know, just this part of us that feels this way. And then there's this part of us that comes and it's like, okay, let me fix this. We're going to create all sorts of a scheme so you don't feel, you know, go to these states anymore. You know, we don't want to feel that moment of trauma anymore. So I'm going to create so many different things. We create addiction. There's different, anxieties that we run the show and goes, okay, we're going to become perfectionists. I'm going to, make sure I'll do this way. And if I do this within this structure, it's always going to work because, I'm not going to experience that. So we try to control things in different ways so that experience, the feeling of that experience doesn't pop forward, because those feelings are painful. It's like we don't want to feel like ashamed, embarrassed, lack of ourselves, and it's just the part of us that didn't feel connected, feel seen and loved. So when we create all the schemes around that, we just miss out this part, and then we create another scheme, and then we create another scheme. We just, the shell sometimes get really thick, know.
So it sounds like it's better to start the work earlier than later because there are less like layers to it.
Absolutely. So when the younger ones, it's like you don't have 50 years, maybe you have 6 years of, whatever has happened. When you have 10 years of it, but the schemes become more, our parts are smart, that's a brilliant part of us. Let's not forget that the survival strategies got us to today. They're good. They're not necessarily all bad things. They're all actually very brilliant, smart part of us that start playing, a role to make us get here. We've made it here. We haven't died, right? We've survived all this time. And thanks to those survival strategies, they're all not bad, strategies, but it's just the problem is we don't need them anymore.
Right.
When just they have lost their time of use. It's like, okay, I'm not 3 years old anymore. Let me go look at the survival strategy that I created, through when I was 3, when I was 5. I was like, do I need them? Sometimes you have to double check even with yourself. Do I need them? Is it coming handy for me? Is it working for me right now? Or am I, sabotaging my relationship because this part of me is active right now, So that's one of the things that,
that makes
pay
sense.
attention to.
Okay. And the survival strategy, it sounds like the person kind of gets stuck like in a victim mode where life happens to us, for us.
Yeah, the victim part of us, is the part that is like needs the protection all the time. When I'm acting from this victim part of me, and I might come to you and it's like, poor me, it's like I was 3 years old and this happened to me. And when I was 10 years old, this happened to me. It's like, when am I going to get a break, And what happens to us is life. Life happens to us, and we're here to experience life, and numbing ourselves, it's not serving us at some point. So the victimhood is not going to serve us, because when we are a victim, what does a victim does? Creates a perpetrator to create that scenario again,
So it's like
and it's a
self
self-sabotaging scheme. We're not even conscious of it, because consciously we don't want to hurt ourselves. Who wants to hurt themselves? We're just not even conscious of it. So we just come up with so many different ways to say, okay, I'm gonna save face, and poor me, I don't want to go through this trauma again. But the moments that we have, these opportunities that we have, that we can connect with this part of us, is it's beautiful. It's a gift that we give ourselves. We spend so much time outside of us, and we're not paying attention to the person closest to us, who is closer to us, who wakes up with us every morning, who goes to bed with us at night. Who drags us through our day? Who do our chores for us? Who does our exercises? Who reads the book? Who makes the driving? Do get grocery shopping? That person, and then when we take a moment to just really connect and love that person and just take a moment and say, you're beautiful, you're enough. We don't do that to ourselves. We try to take care of all the other parts outside of us. But when we come and say, oh my gosh, you're amazing, you did all of this thing and, we made it through the day and it's beautiful. You just get to relax in your own skin for just even one breath,
Amazing.
And acknowledging yourself.
Just one breath. I love that. Well, you're saying just one breath, but we also shared, you shared with me that you have a minute or two drop into the heart meditation. Oh. And I would love for you to walk us through that now.
Sure. Okay. I would love that. Okay. So just take a moment and relax a little bit in your shoulder. Maybe take just a second to shake everything off. Like just shake your hands, shake your body, and just release whatever you don't want right now in this moment. And take a deeper inhale and maybe exhale twice as long. And then inhale and then exhale. Relax the back of your tongue. Relax your head, your shoulder. Feel your body wherever you're sitting. Is it touching your chair? Where does it touch your chair? Just be present with your body for a moment. And just bring your attention for a moment to the feeling of your heart. Your heart is beating, pulsating. How does that feel for you? Just take a moment to be with your heart. Your heart is always pulsing, pumping blood everywhere, taking the oxygen everywhere, all the cells. It just does it on its own. You don't have to even command it. It's beautifully working for you. Bring your breath to your heart. Feel your heart breathing. And maybe tell your heart, I love you. Thank you for all the work you're doing for me. I'm alive because of you. Just connect with your heart. Maybe expand that love that you brought to your heart. Expand it. Like imagine a light in your heart getting bigger and bigger and expand it. Expand it that it covers your whole body. And maybe the area outside of your body. Feel the energy expanding. And maybe we'll just take a moment to take this love that we felt in our heart and in our body and outside the area and send it out. Send it out to whoever may need a little love in this moment. Cover your city, your state, covering the country, all the countries, and just feel our love expanding. Whoever needs this love, may they receive this love. And take a deeper inhale. And whenever you're ready, you can come back to the room.
Come back to this planet. Ooh, that was beautiful. Hold on. That was just so beautiful. And it's funny because when you say expanding it to the world, it makes me think of when I was working with a little girl and I asked her to show me the world with her hands. I'm like, do you want to do it like this or use your fingers? And she actually went like this and made it into a heart. And it was just the most beautiful thing. And you just reminded me, like, Gosh, if we could all just not even keep, I know we have to go through trials and tribulations, but getting back, working our way back to that innocence of that child before all this happened. It's so beautiful. Wow, Sepi,
Yes.
getting in touch with ourselves. And it's like, and just to give our hearts, like thanking our hearts, I've never heard of that until today. And it's so beautiful. And just being grateful that there's this consciousness in our body that keeps our hearts going and the blood pumping. So beautiful.
Yeah, they're brilliant on their own without us saying anything.
Yeah, it's amazing. So do you have a physical office or do you usually work with clients virtually?
It's all on Zoom, so not a physical office at this moment.
So grateful,
but everything works on Zoom also.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Thanks to Zoom.
Thanks to COVID, actually some silver linings. It's amazing because now you can reach people all over the world and that you could help them, and it's so beautiful. So if you could share with us your website and social media, and we'll also put it in the show information if somebody doesn't catch it.
It's simple. It's my first name, last name at, so www.sepitabai.com. My social media is on same thing, Sepi Tabai also. So you can find me in those places.
And it's beautiful because what some people think is so simple, others don't. For example, your name. So I will just share. Sepi is Sepi, and Tabai is Tabai. Yes. Wonderful. And what's the best way for people to get in touch with you to schedule these magical transformative sessions?
Yeah, they can reach me on my website. They can reach me on social media. Website is probably the best because I get a direct message from them and they can find me there, all the information. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So,
well, Sepi, and to all of our watchers and listeners out there, as Piggy Bear would say, you are amazing.
So are you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Let's Talk Wellness. This podcast has been brought to you by the Hugs for Life Healing Center, a division of the Extraordinary Lives Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. If you would like to listen to more conversations like this, we invite you to subscribe to our mailing list at www.elfempowers.org to be notified when our weekly episodes are published. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to bringing you our next conversation on Let's Talk Wellness.